and go.
I am Chad Childers with Hagens Berman Action. I am joining Axel Merckx again. We are talking today with Sam Bewley, who is one of the very first and inaugural members of the Action Squad program. And he is a current rider in the World Tour for Mitchelton Scott. He started as the first Kiwi, as the first person from New Zealand. I think we've had 7 riders from New Zealand, kind of a storied part to our history. And he is joining us now. Sam, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good to see you guys.
Hey,
It's
Sam,
been a long
how are
time
you?
since we've caught up.
Yeah, I think last time we caught up was my birthday in Tour of Utah, like a couple years ago or a year and a half ago. Well, I can't even remember.
Yeah, 2018, I think, was the last time we did Utah.
Yeah.
So it was then. So yeah, it was the last time I saw you. That was nearly 10 years since I raced
Yeah.
under you, Axel.
Yeah, that's well, man, you're not a young man anymore. I mean, I just looked up at your age. I don't know, 30, almost 33 years old. It's
But
almost.
you've been
What?
aging at the same rate as me. So
Yeah, but I'm like wine. You know, the older I get, the better I get.
you do look exactly the same as you did 10 years ago.
Yeah, almost. But thanks for that. But thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you. You be part of this journey, and obviously you were one of the originals. You know, like as a bit of a backlash, I had to kind of brush off my memory and how it all came about. And when we started the team, you know, obviously with Taylor, that was the main thing. And then I was looking for my first recruit was actually Ben King, and I'm sure we'll catch up with him at some point during the next few episodes. But right after that, I got an email or a text or Facebook message from a good friend Craig Adair. I'm sure you know Craig real well, and if he listens to us, we'll say hey, because what a character he is, and he actually connected with me and just said, I got two Kiwis here, and you'll be appreciating that. You know, the bronze medalists at the Olympic Games, so you know those guys are pretty cool guys. So. And it went from there. So I wanted to know a little bit from your perspective, you know, when how this came about, and because we were like a fresh team, we never existed before, and obviously with, you know, Trek Livestrong and Lance involved and Habit Taylor Finney, what was your perspective on the team, hearing about it, and also the possibility of coming to the team, if you know what went through your mind basically?
Yeah, look, I was a complete novice when it came to professional road cycling at that point. I mean, I'd raced some amateur races in France and Belgium and stuff a couple of years prior, but I was mainly a track cyclist. And that was what my big focus was up until the Beijing Olympics, the year prior, 2008 there. And then I sort of got to know Taylor a little bit at the Olympics, and he was obviously a really young guy at the time, but he was looking in a couple of different directions. He was still racing the track, and obviously he knew that this team was coming about in 2009. Obviously, like you said, under the Lance wanted to set up the development team and have a part in growing the youth of American cycling. And I didn't know what I was going to do in 2009. And I just remember actually reading about the formation of this team on Cycling News or something. And I thought, oh shit, that could be not a bad option. You know, just obviously starting as a professional cyclist, and I realized how hard it was in Europe. I hadn't experienced the racing in America, but I thought it could be a really good pathway. And obviously under the Lance being involved, and obviously you being involved, Axel, I thought there was a really good chance to, a really good springboard into a career as a professional road cyclist. So I reached out to Taylor, sort of on a whim, hoping that he remembered who I was from our chance meetings at the Beijing Olympics. And then, like you said, Craig Adair reached out to you, and then things got rolling pretty quickly from there. You contacted me, we had a chat. I didn't have any other options.
Me neither. Me neither. We were stuck in the same situation.
But no, it was a really exciting team. Like I said, all those reasons I covered. You know, a good springboard into America, a team that was developed to to develop youth and give them a taste of professional cycling. Really good experienced guys with you involved as the head sports director, and then just a cool program, a good vision of how it was going to operate. Really cool people. All the guys we had on the team that year were fun guys to be around, and that was something that I'm experiencing now in Mitchell and Scott as well, which is a huge part of success. You know, that camaraderie, that enjoyment of the sport itself, and so yeah, I was really excited to join the team when you gave me the option, gave me the chance.
That's cool. Do you remember our first race?
What was our first race? Was it
Mexico? Remember?
Oh, Tierra Hila.
No, it was Telmex Tour Mexico or something like that.
Oh yeah, but I didn't do that.
Oh, no. You went on track there. Oh, sorry.
I was doing the track. Yeah, I think I was at the track. I did the track worlds.
Yeah. You're still world.
And then I came from there. I came from the worlds in Poland across to the States in March or something. So I can't remember what my first race was. Was it Tour? It might have been Tour of Hila, I think.
Yeah, probably Tour of Hila. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a typical story of like, don't want to compare you to Aussies because I know this, not always the best thing to do for you guys, but down under like Kiwis, and we had a lot of New Zealanders on the team. I think the Chad was right, 7 or 8. We tried to do math before we started it, but it always amazed me, especially being a European guy that being homeschooled. I was at home for a very long time, and you guys just pack up, leave your family behind, and leave everything behind for like months on end, and out on a trip we go. We just leave everything behind, and like, especially in a brand new team with no experience. Yeah, the names were there, but still, still not a whole lot of clue. To be honest with you, when we started the team, when I was asked to do the team, I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
now what do I do? So I have a lot of respect for you guys doing that. Like, and actually also you were one of the guys that helped me getting some recruits later on also. As you were one of the very few that I kind of relate to when it was to hire new Kiwis, if you knew any new ones, and so I really appreciate that. It's some worked out, some didn't, but that doesn't matter. So it's all part of the story.
Yeah.
So is that I think the first memory I think was training camp. No, what was it? Tucson.
Yeah, well, we did one in, I remember doing a training camp in Santa Rosa. I think that must have been in January or something in California there.
Yeah.
And I think that was that was the only year I was on the team. So it was the first year of the team. And we did one in Santa Rosa. I think it must have been about January. I remember Lance came in for a couple of days. I think, they must have been there as well or something. Astana was it at the time. And that was the first time where I met everybody. I didn't really know anybody at that point. Obviously I didn't know you. And straight away it was like it was really exciting for me, and then obviously Jesse as well, Jesse Sargent, who was the other Kiwi with me at that time. And like going back to what you were saying before about us packing up and moving to effectively the other side of the world, away from our families and stuff at such a young age. It's really exciting to do that. Kiwis are quite intrepid, and we're sort of the time you finish high school, your parents are booting you out the door anyway to go to university or go and do whatever else. And for Jesse and I, it was to go to the States and race with you guys. And that first training camp we did in January was a really cool experience, meeting the guys. And straight away you could see that the team that you'd put together in the months prior was going to be a relatively successful team with results and things, but a hugely successful team in the way we were going to operate and the way we were going to communicate and actually get on really well together as a group. And it was, for me, I still look back on that year as one of my funnest years as a bike rider. A lot of fond memories from that year, living with Jesse, first time sort of living in an apartment or a flat or whatever. Jesse and I were sort of still are best mates. And living 21 years old or 20 years old, living in Colorado, just having a good time and trying to race our bikes and just enjoy it.
Sam, when you look back on that time, all of the guys, like you just said a second ago, all of the guys say that was some of the best memories they've ever had, hanging out with the guys on the team. What memories, anything specific, any stories that stick out from some of the guys? I think because it's cool to see, we see everybody now in the world tour, We don't always hear stories of what they've had going on and whatnot. It's very like, you know, results and whatnot. Do you have stories that stick out?
How censored is this podcast?
No, you can go.
No, the coolest time I had during that year was actually we raced Tour de Beauce in June or July, whenever it was, and after that we had to go down to Wisconsin and do some stuff for the Trek factory. You know, meet John Burke and all those guys, and there was a couple of races on, a couple of criteriums on that week down there in Wisconsin. So we flew straight from Tour de Beauce to, what's the name of the city, the town where it is?
Madison.
Madison, yeah. We flew into Madison, and we had no supervision. It was Axel wasn't there. I think we had the mechanic there with us, but we sort of just did our own thing a little bit, and that was an awesome.
I thought I said you were in charge.
Yeah, I was. That was a mistake. No, it was an awesome week. We obviously spent quite a lot of time with the Trek guys. Got a tour of the factory. We went to John Burke's place for dinner one night, and then we did about 2 or 3 races around the area of Wisconsin. So we're driving around in this big American car, and it was just the boys hanging out for 5 or 6 days. And yeah, we did quite well in those races, I think, but we just had a really fun time. You know, we obviously none of us were old enough to drink in America with 21 years old, which was fine. But we had a lot of fun that week, and that's probably the week that really sticks out as a team. I had a lot of good fun in general in the States, living with Jesse, and good times, and we were living in Boulder together. Really cool memories with just him, but that was a memory that sticks out as for the whole team.
That's good. I mean, that's part of what creates a team. Also, you know, you don't always have to have supervision. You know, it's one of those things. As you know, I mean, you have a lot of experience now, also in the world of cycling, and it's pretty regiment, especially in European teams where, you know, everything has to be set up a certain way. Especially in Italy, you know, it has to be like, you know, this is the way we do. You know, you got to get up in the morning, you need to have your coffee, or you need to rest, you have to relax. But I think part of the team building is more and more you see some teams doing that also, and it's very important, and it's important to have a little bit of freedom also, and to give a little bit of freedom. Speaking of Jesse, how's he doing? I haven't talked to him in ages. What's up with him? I'll have to catch up with him.
Yeah, you should. He's doing really well. He's doing. He sort of when he retired, 2016, I think it was now. He's sort of been toying with a few different ideas of things he's wanted to do, but he's just a simple dude, you know, who doesn't need all the flashy things and everything. And he just likes to do what he enjoys, and that's what he's doing now. And him and Amber are having a really good time back in New Zealand. And whenever I go back, I always try to catch up with him a few times. We go for a couple of mountain bike rides. He's pretty handy on the mountain bike now. He's not as fit as he used to be, but he's good when he goes downhill. So I still keep in touch with him heaps. He hasn't changed, actually, to answer your question. He's same old guy.
Yeah, Chad, you have to put it in perspective. You know, when those two showed up, it was like Sam was the spokesperson and Jesse was in the background, just kind of let him talk. Sam was doing all the talk, and Jesse was been talking. But I remember, like back in those days, we still were allowed to do race radios in the races, and whenever Sam came on the radio, just couldn't understand him. I just couldn't do it. I looked at Bill, because Bill was our mechanic. I looked at Bill and like, I have no idea what he says, man. And once in a while he caught a few words out of it, but it was a lot of good fun. It was good fun.
I still have the same problem now. Half the time my directors say, they speak English, native English speakers as well.
Yeah,
sorry about the watering eyes, guys, if this is on video as well.
It's all good.
Eyes full of dirt after the gravel ride.
So from a truck rider, now you're a gravel rider. Is that how you keep busy during those quarantine COVID-19 times, or?
Well, over here we couldn't do anything other than ride on Zwift. In Spain, we were completely shut down from any exercise outside. So that was a long period. 7 weeks we were stuck on the indoor trainer. So that got old pretty quickly, but it was necessary. But yeah, now since we've been able to ride outside and train as normal for the last 2.5 weeks now, or coming up 3 weeks. So that's been bloody liberating. And I sort of gravel riding is becoming a bit of a thing, you know, especially over there in the States, a bit of a craze. And it's sort of getting bigger here now. And I just find it really fun. And obviously at this point, there's going to be a certain point, and that's probably only a few days away, maybe next week, where we're going to have to start really training with some structure and doing the right efforts and all that sort of stuff, and focusing on doing the right things on the bike. But at the last couple of weeks, it's just about getting fit again and just getting some hours done. And I've been doing quite a lot of it on the gravel, actually. So really enjoying it, yeah.
Well, I've seen that during the 7 weeks of the lockdown, you became quite the cook. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of your cooking lessons, man. that just, honestly, it's just, you know, those hard times, you know, you just sit at home and you spend too much time on your phone, social media, whatever it is. And then I saw that, I just burst out laughing. That was just brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
I read, I can't remember if it was on Cycling News, but tell us the story about how it got going. I think it was something about you at first did it as a joke, sent it to your mates, and then somebody suggested you should put it out there.
Yeah, exactly how it happened. Like, so I'm living alone over here, and I guess just after I needed some sort of interaction with people, and I'm ashamed to say that it had to be virtual. Well, that was the only option. And so yeah, like every couple of nights I do these cook something different or whatever, and just act like a bit of a clown and wear something stupid and send it through to the guys or to our friends' WhatsApp group. And yeah, one day I think just one of the girls was like, "Oh, that one was hilarious. You just got to put it on the internet." And I was like, I don't know if that's really really my style or whatever. But then I was like, probably had a couple of beers, and I was like, bit of a laugh. So I put it up, and then like it became addictive because I started like getting all the feedback, and you can see how people. I was telling someone earlier how easy it is that like these social media influencers or whatever you call them, how they become addicted to it. And like I always shake my head at that stuff, but like all of a sudden you're getting all these like likes and messages, and like people are like really encouraging you to do it. And I was like, it's a bit of fun, so kept on doing it. It was like an easy bit of entertainment for myself as well. But I'm running out of steam now that we're out exercising and things, and actually for the first time in a long time, I'm actually tired at night because I'm training again. You know, so like when I get to 8 o'clock at night, I'm like, I just want to make something simple and watch a movie and go to bed. So running out of steam a little bit with the videos, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, you can see your teams that you're supporting through all those videos. You know, I think if I remember well, obviously the All Blacks. That's a given.
Yeah.
You know, and the Bulls. What else you got in there?
Australian AFL team one day. Maybe New Zealand cricket team.
Yeah, some cycling team too. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you're doing a good job incorporating those sponsors in there. I was impressed with that. I'm like, that's gold for your sponsors, man. That was awesome.
Well, there's so much like social media was obviously so important for the teams through this. It still remains important through this whole period until we know when we're going to be racing again, because as you guys know, there's not much exposure for professional cycling teams at the moment. So it's maybe a little bit unorthodox, the exposure that I was giving them, but exposure is exposure, I guess.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Going back a little bit in the years, you know, I always wonder also, you know, how a young kid from New Zealand ends up on the bike. You know, like what brought you to cycling? Is it, you know, like, is it somebody in your family or somebody inspired you, or how do you get to cycling?
Yeah, like New Zealand's obviously not a really, really big cycling nation. It's certainly not known for it. It's known for rugby and cricket. But I grew up in a family that was, certainly my father was very, very into sport when he was young. Not cycling, but a lot of other sports. So I kind of grew up being pretty sporty myself. And when I was young, I gave everything a go. I played rugby and I played cricket and I played water polo and I played whatever else I could sign up for, basically. And then the town that I grew up in, Rotorua, it's really pretty world famous for mountain biking. Really lots of cool mountain bike tracks there, and people travel from all over the world to ride mountain bikes there. So once I got to a certain age where mountain biking was an option through school, actually, I signed up and just pulled a crappy old mountain bike out of the garage and just started going and riding the mountain bike tracks, and did a couple of races. for school teams, and then I started to realize that this was a sport that I really enjoyed. And I was still playing rugby and stuff at the time, but then as I got a bit older and I started to get a little bit more serious with cycling and a little bit better at it, I gave up rugby because you just get injured every single. I was like, I might be tall, but I wasn't the biggest guy on the field, I'll tell you that. So I was getting banged around a lot. And then I just started taking mountain biking really seriously. And I raced only mountain bikes up until I was about 17 years old. And I started with a road bike. And then I started on the track bike second year junior. Was the first time I picked up a track bike. And that seemed to come naturally, and won a junior world title that year on the track. And then from there on, I just focused on being a track cyclist. And that went pretty quickly through to 2009 when I thought, I'll try give this Axeon Merckx a call and see if I can be a road rider. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
That's right, man. So then you from us, you went straight to Radio Shack for what, 2 years, 1 year, 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
2 years, yeah. And then pretty much 1 year with Pure Black Racing. I was back in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, I did 2 years with Radio Shack, and then I had signed with Green Edge for the following year.
Oh yeah.
But my contracts didn't start until May, so I did like a sort of like a 3 or 4 month period just with Pure Black doing a couple of races, and that was Olympic year again, and that was going to be my last year on the track. So I was still racing the track then, and I didn't have a contract for the first 5 months of the year, but that worked out pretty well because then I could focus on the track worlds in Melbourne that year, and then focus on obviously the London Olympics later in the year, and that was the end of the track.
You missed the track?
I did for a few years, but not anymore. No, not when you see how fast they're going. I wouldn't even be able to get off the start line.
I know, it's crazy. It's just amazing. Yeah, I keep watching it. Yeah, well, I wasn't obviously that kind of rider, but I mean, it just keeps amazing me how fast you can go on a track. Is just talking about Alex also about the R record and stuff, and all the research and the story behind it it's quite interesting. So what's your role in Michelton Scott now? Like, what are you, a road captain? What's your, because you're an old timer, like.
Yeah, some say I'm experienced.
Not wise.
But yeah.
Didn't say wise. It's experience. Didn't say wise.
Yeah. But yeah, I have sort of taken, obviously our team's been quite an interesting team to be a part of, and I have essentially been a part of it since the beginning, since 2012. And when the team first started, it was quite a sprint-focused team. And I guess I fitted in that point as well, because I was recently off the track, so I still had that seated power and things to offer lead outs, and we're quite focused on Matt Goss and guys like that at that time. And then over the years, we've changed to now a pretty much a 100% focused GC team with the Yates guys and Esteban Chavez doing, second in the Giro and third in the Vuelta in 2016 and things like that. So I had to also adapt my style of bike riding a little bit, which was not easy coming off the track. Obviously would carry more weight. I was more, seated power and that kind of stuff. And I had to try to get more like you, Axel, I guess, where you could just be strong throughout the whole day, climb pretty well, still get over with some smaller groups if you're trying to help a GC guy. Yeah. And so that took me a number of years to develop those attributes, but I think I'm getting there now. Well, hope so, because there's not much time left. And then obviously with that comes experience, and you have experience of successes and failures and dealing with injuries and things like that. And like you said earlier on, I was always the sort of spokesperson. So I still am a little bit. And I think that helps with leadership of younger guys. And I really enjoy helping younger guys and things like that. So yeah, that's sort of my role now, is just domestique for the GC guys. And I really enjoy that. I really like to focus on the Grand Tours every year and to play my part and helping one of the Yates boys or whatever try to win a Grand Tour. And then, I like to lead the young guys the best I can as well when I get that chance.
Yeah, when I was talking about leadership, I was talking in a positive way, leadership. We're not a negative influence on everybody else. Yeah, that's not what I meant. It was always it's always, and that's why we were important in that young team also, because you were a little bit more mature than the rest. You had you haven't changed, so you look exactly like the way you were back then. So it says a lot, and you kind of brought that little bit of seriousness at some point. I know you hate to admit it, but you know, you kind of were the older brother in the group with, you know, I mean, having Taylor around, and we all know how Taylor is goofing around, and especially at that age, he was very young and always late, but that's fine. We'll figure that out really quickly. I think that's one thing I remember. I don't know if you remember that one of the first training camp we did, and it just came back in my memory because I was talking about being late, and I'm not saying we miscommunicated about the start of this call and this, but I always said, if you're late, I leave without you, right? So there was one of the first training camp we did, and Taylor came down. And he was fixing his cleats, and I Taylor, we're leaving at 10, and 10 o'clock we're gone. And sure enough, 10 o'clock he was still, you know, screwing around with his cleats and pedals or whatever it was. And I was like, "Okay, guys, let's go." So we took off. We left without Taylor.
That's right. I do remember.
5 minutes down the road, I get a phone call. "Where are you guys?" I'm like, I don't know, man. He said, "We leave at 10. You leave at 10. He was never late again.
He would have hated it as well.
Oh yeah, he was so embarrassed. And like, well, you gotta teach the young guys a certain way. If they don't want to listen by words, we gotta do it by action. So
because he was only about 18 years old then, or something, 18 or 19.
Yeah, he was straight from the juniors. He came straight from the juniors to us, so he was super young. Yeah, I mean, successful right away, but super young. So that was fun. Are you? Because I know you live in Girona now. Are you seeing some alumni? Like, are you seeing James Fouché, one of our riders? Have you ridden with him?
Well, I have done in the past, and obviously he rode Stagiaire with Mitchell and Scott at the end of last year. So I did a race tour of Croatia with him, and I know him. I've been getting to know him more and more over the last few months. But unfortunately, we've been since the 14th of March. We haven't been able to train with anybody, so haven't had the opportunity yet. But I will do for sure. I quite like James. He's a typical Kiwi bloke, I reckon. Just wants to get stuck in and just not too fancy or whatever. He just loves to ride his bike, and he's a strong guy, really strong guy.
Yeah,
so I'm excited to see how he goes in the coming years.
Yeah. Did you warn him before he came to us? Because if he was stagiaire with you last year, before he probably should have said something that he might come to us. Did you warn him?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I remember asking him in Croatia because I was quite sure that there wasn't a spot on our team. And I asked him what his options were, and he told me that you guys were one of them. And I said, "Well, join the club, mate."
Watch out! Watch for the big, tall Belgian Canadian guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't be late.
But I see Taylor around a bit as well. I don't see him heaps and heaps because he's sort of in and out a little bit of Girona. But he's been here through the lockdown, and actually caught up with him a few days ago, and we're talking about doing a overnight camping trip on the gravel bikes once the weather's good. So we'll probably go out and ride down to the coast one night and pitch a tent, and it'll be a good catch up with him actually, because I haven't had a really good catch up with him for a few years.
Yeah, me too. He's a hard guy to catch.
Yeah. He's pretty undercover now. He just sort of floats around a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Sam, I was going to ask you. You said a second ago that you've liked the kind of leadership role you have at Mitchelton Scott, being able to mentor the younger guys. Do you see a difference in what you feel like you experienced moving up to the World Tour versus what some of the younger riders have now? And if there is a difference, what do you think those differences are?
I think there's the hard thing for people from New Zealand and less so Australia, but certainly from New Zealand, was there was never really a pathway for us to professional cycling. You know, there were guys who had gone professional in the earlier years, like Julian Dean, Hayden Ralston, Tim Gudsell, but that was really about it, you know. And they had to do it the hard way through living in France or Belgium and stuff. And that's, as much as I love those countries, especially Belgium, it's hard. It really is hard because it's so removed from New Zealand, and it's so different. It's a completely different cultures and all that stuff. And I think nowadays there's definitely more pathways for young guys. English has become is playing a much bigger role in professional cycling and across the board. Whereas, you know, years ago, it was like if you went to a French team, it was only French. If you went to a Spanish team, it was only Spanish or whatever like that. So there's certainly a few more pathways now. And I don't know, like to be honest with you, my experiences in Radio Shack, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have fun in that team. And I come from Trek Livestrong the year prior, where I had a really, really cool time and met really cool people. And then I went into that team, and the leadership was so different because there was so many big names on that team, you know,
right.
and the team really was building for Lance to come back and try to win another Tour de France. And I was a young guy at the time, and all of a sudden I was in a team with guys that I watched racing the Tour de France, you know, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, like Cloden and Lance and Popovich and all these guys. And I was really just a bit like, oh, how the hell did I get here, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, there were a few guys in that team that were really, really cool with the young guys, like Greggy Rast. I'm still really good friends with him now. He sort of took me under my wing a little bit, looking after the young guys. And Chicho Ribeira, he was really good with the young guys. Jose Azevedo, who was a coach there, he was really cool to me. And there was a number of guys that were, but ultimately the team was built around Lance, and it was a really segregated team. So I never really felt like I never really figured out where I fit, and, you know, who was I supposed to call or who was going to help me. And I found that really difficult. And then when I come to Michelin Scott, it's, you know, everything, it's really an open book. You know, the whole method is that everybody is equal, you know, whether you're the general manager or all the way down to whatever, everybody's equal in that team. Everybody can pick up the phone and call the same people. And that makes a big difference to young guys coming through. They feel comfortable calling up their directors. They feel comfortable calling up the other riders for help. And you don't have to feel ashamed about asking any question, because you're so green at that time that you half the time you're like a little turtle in its shell because you're scared to ask the wrong question. And I felt like that in Radio Shack at times, that it was the wrong question. Whereas now I feel like there's no such thing as a wrong question. Just ask away, man, you know?
Right.
And I think that's what's really important.
What advice would you give to someone going through maybe what you experienced at Radio Shack in those first couple of years? If somebody's struggling, they feel like they're in the right place as far as career-wise, and they're doing what they want to do. You know, they're a professional cyclist, but they're struggling and they don't have someone that they feel like they can talk to or ask. What kind of advice would you give them?
I think it's a hard one, because, like, if they feel like they don't have anybody to talk to, then it's really hard to change their minds. And like, again, I think I haven't been on many teams. I've only really been on Trek Livestrong and Radio Shack and Michelin Scott for the better part of my career. So I don't know what all the other teams are like, but I still kind of feel like now, with the way cycling is evolving, it's becoming a very international sport. Everything is more modern about cycling, from training to the way things operate, to communication, to social media, all that stuff. You know, a lot of that stuff didn't exist not so long ago. So I feel like that I would hope that most teams that they do have those support networks in place.
Right.
If they don't, then I think, everybody's must have someone they can talk to. I don't know. That's a hard question, honestly. I don't know how to really say.
Yeah, because I think maybe you pointing out that the landscape is a little bit different. You know, it's 10 years later. Social media is not only a bigger thing, but communication, I think, is easier. Whether you have, you know, I think back in 2009, people are probably struggling on whether they have an international calling plan, or how, you know, texting is 25 cents a text if they're texting somebody back home in New Zealand or something. So maybe that's it. Maybe that because communication is easier, you know, you have an easier chance of communicating with friends. Or
yeah, I think if you haven't got it internally in your team, then you certainly have it externally. And like, it's quite difficult, because you almost have to put that back on the teams a little bit, because if you're a young rider and you sign professional with whatever team, you go where you feel is going to be the best fit for you for a number of different reasons. But the ability to have a leader in that team, or an older guy that you feel comfortable talking with, that's not up to you. that's completely dictated by who the team employs. And if you go to a team where those riders don't exist, you can't do anything about it. You know,
Right.
you can't go to an old guy and go, hey, I know you don't want to help me, but just help me, because they're going to go. Oh. I mean, but I really don't believe that is the case. There's, you know, everybody, as fierce competitors as we are, and arguments we have during races and stuff, there's a lot of good guys in the peloton and a lot of good guys across all teams. So I think that young guys can feel comfortable. And like I say about it being a much largely international sport now, I think no matter what team you end up going to for a sporting reason it might be, there's going to be people in those teams that are going to look out for you.
Yeah, I think one of the things also, especially now, the way that I look at it at professional cycling, everything is so defined and designed and technology advanced and programmed, and like there's talks about power meters and stuff like that, and I'm all for it. I think that's great tools, and I think they should stay. Actually they should stay. I think they should be more exposed to the public, because I think people would love to hear how much watts you push compared to Yates is pushing, and how much actually more calories that you can be burning maybe on the mountain stage compared to him, because you're not as efficient because of your body, like those kind of things.
Yeah.
One of the things also, like they come back to the leadership and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of emotional component that maybe some teams and are kind of forgetting about it. I think one team that kind of struck to me is like when you see the success story of the Koenig Quickstep, they have the support, the technology and all that stuff, but at the same time you can really feel that team spirit. You feel that they go into a race, and no matter what it is, they need to have one of those guys. And I'm sure, I'm sure those guys don't all get along, but when they go at the start, they are one team and they race as one team, and that's very important. And that comes and starts with the leadership and the directors in there. It's very complicated. I mean, I know you were talking about the Radio Shack team, but I think also you need to kind of put in perspective that that team had a lot of pressure on their shoulders when they did what they did. I'm biased because I wouldn't be here without them. For sure, the success story of this team is relay on Lance's comeback, and I won't forget that. No, so when they decided to do that, they were the dream team. They were the and I'm sure you watched The Last Dance of the Chicago Red Bulls story on Netflix. They were that team. They were the dream team, basically, that were just crushing everybody and destroying everybody. And they decided to come back a few years later. So if you kind of put that in perspective, it's probably not the best way to end up as a young kid from Rotorua.
Yeah, that's I reckon that's it. I'm certainly thankful for them as well, because I wouldn't have gone to the world tour without that team. Undoubtedly, I wouldn't have. But it was just the wrong team for me. It was the right team for me because it was the only team that I could go to. But it was the wrong team in hindsight, when you look back at it, because I wasn't the world's best road cyclist either. I wasn't going to go to Europe and be this young Pogacar or something like that. And then it was exactly like you say. I was thrown into the Chicago Bulls, and I'm going like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this team. And that made it really hard for me. And then also with Johan, I wasn't good. I wasn't good in my first races as a world tour rider with Radio Shack. And then he saw that, and he was like, who have we signed? What is this guy? But I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then I was in a position where I was just going like, I just need some help. Like, does someone tell me what to do? How do I know I'm getting hammered, but how do I not? And I just didn't feel like I had that in that team, which why.
Yeah, I mean at that point they have to prioritize. They don't have time. They don't have time at that point. They have like 2-year probably contract, and they need to have a result right away. And I think if that team would be around, and more teams are like that, they have like one person assigned to the young guys, and kind of take them under the wing and just reassure them and just say, okay, it's fine. We'll just do a lighter program. You'll get there. Where can we improve? And I think that those things have changed. And we talk about 10 years, 10, 12 years. So it's not, it's not that long ago. But I think like to go back maybe a little bit more on nowadays, like I said, like sometimes in a race, road captains are the most valuable person in that team, because race radios don't always work. you're in the middle of a mountain stage and the people are screaming and yelling and you can't hear radios all the time. So, there's split decisions. You go into valleys and there's a breakaway or nobody's in there. It's very valuable to have somebody that can make a decision on the team. And that's when you see the value of a team and a teammate. It doesn't always get to the team leader because the team leader has a lot of pressure, because he has to be performing and sometimes that's all he has to think about. And to make those strategic decisions are very crucial to be able to do. And I'm glad that you potentially one of those guys, because I can see that in you for sure as in your leadership. And that is something very valuable for a team. That's a lot of time people forget about those teams, those riders where they're just like, oh yeah, no, well, what did he do? I mean, you look at your result, I mean, Sam, I mean, no, I know you're not gonna be offended, but like your results, in a Grand Tour, you were, like you said, no mistake, and you've improved and you contribute to the success of your teammates, and your leaders probably appreciate it even more than the grand public. But the public doesn't know how much hard work and decision making goes into being the rider that you are, and value that, and that's why you're on a team like that, and they value your experience. Can you see yourself continuing a role like that even beyond your career? Is that something that it would inspire you and would be that you are aspire of doing?
Before we touch on that, I just want to talk about my results. I got 99th in the Vuelta last year. So it's the first time I've been top 100 in the Grand Tour.
There you go. I don't know. It says 100th here. I don't know.
Oh, it's 100. Still 100.
That's still in the top 100.
That's it. Yeah. No, but yeah, it is something I'm really interested in. I actually was talking to somebody a few days ago about like post cycling, and when you first start cycling, when you're 21 years old or whatever, or when I was in your team, Axel, I wasn't thinking about what I was going to do if it didn't work out, because it didn't really matter, because you were so young. And if it wasn't going to work out, you were going to know pretty quickly that it wasn't going to work out. And then you could go to university or do whatever you wanted to do, because you're still only 22 years old. And then you do go professional, and then you sort of focus really solely on building yourself up and learning and listening and creating a career that you don't think about what you're going to do if it doesn't work out. Then all of a sudden you're in your late 20s and you're maybe established and you feel confident that you're going to have contracts, you're doing a good job and all that stuff. But then before you know it, you're at the point where you're like, whoa, there's only a few years left potentially, and you have to start to think about what you want to do. And I have started doing that. I try not to think too hard, because you obviously want to focus on what you're doing in the current time. But to answer your question, yeah, I really love working with young people. I really love working in the sport. I love the sport. I've loved to be part of quite an interesting period over the last 10 or 15 years of the sport evolving. And I don't know if I'd like to be a sports director per se for a World Tour team, because as you know, it's a lot of traveling, and but it would be something that I would do if it was an opportunity for a couple of years at least, to find my footing, to remain in the sport, and to maybe find a pathway where it could be a bit more streamlined into helping young guys. And because that's really what I would like to do, is just to focus on the young group. And even if that meant working for a team in a smaller role of doing 2 or 3 training camps throughout the year with just a young group, which we do in this team often, and just working with those guys and trying to impart some wisdom is
yeah. Well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, because I hope you're still gonna be around for like 4 or 5, 6 years. Like now professional cycling can go even longer. Like this. You see riders at 40 years old that are still world champion. It's just a matter of speaking.
Exactly.
So your body. There's way more science also in helping recovering and lasting careers way longer than it is. It's more of a mental situation that you find yourself in. And I always said, and I know that from when my dad, we talked about during my career. You'll know when you're done. The day only you will be able to decide when you're done. Nobody else. It's going to be, everything is going to come together, and you're going to say, you know what, I've done what I wanted to do. I'm done. I need something else. To be honest with you, when I retired, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was still relatively young. I think I was almost 2000, so I was almost 34 or 35. And like, oh, let's move to Canada. I have no idea what I was going to do, and then that came out of the sky, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's something that I'm be interested in. So it's really hard, like you said, to focus on something when we're not quite there, and give you some guidance. It's somebody told me, and it was so true the day you retired. And Alan Piper told me that one day, actually. He's like, you spend all your life, your career, having a goal, right? Yeah. And having a goal of whether it's winning a race, it's working for your leader, it's making the team successful, it's finding your contract. And from one day to another, you decide to stop, and you don't have that goal anymore unless you have something in place. But you will keep fighting and fighting and trying to find that rush that you have when you race, because we're all addicted to some kind of adrenaline rush of whether it's your team winning, your leader winning, yourself winning, you finding a contract. It's still that goal is there, and that's going to be, and that still is one of the things that I live with every year. Like, keep the team going, you find the next talent. Like, that's really what gets me going, keeps me going. That's so refreshing. I was so grateful that I was able to do this, and then you create great relationships. Sam, we don't speak a lot, but like, we can not talk for 3 years and leave and pick it up where we left it last time. Those are kind of cool stories, and that creates relationship. But that's the same with staff that we've had on the team and riders, and but I mean, that's something that you have to kind of prepare yourself mentally also, as you come closer, you start feeling that you're going that direction, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think also, like, if also like the workforce or it's constantly evolving, like, especially in cycling. When you look back, not so long ago, it was like a sports director, a soigneur, and a mechanic, and then bike riders. Now you got chefs and nutritionists and social media and
scouts,
people who carry the mattresses for Ineos to their hotel room or whatever. All sorts of different things, So you never know what opportunities will be out there when it comes to your time. Like you say, you'll know when. I think I will know when I'm ready. But one thing you say, like, about the mental side of things, that eventually is what stops you, is the end point. When you go, I don't know if I can do this anymore. This year is going to be quite interesting, because with this pandemic, it's actually given everybody an opportunity to stop and pause. As tough as it has been, not having a goal and not knowing when racing is going to start again, and sort of like, what am I training for? Should I be training? Should I be resting? Whatever. That's been hard mentally. But we've actually just gained a year where everybody's been able to pause and not thrash your body, not get, like, travel all around the world, race like 60, 70, 80 days a year. So there could be an argument that this year, as hard as it's going to be in a number of ways, could bring some longevity to bike riders' careers.
Yeah. Your mind is refreshed, like you don't realize what you miss until you miss it, like
exactly.
The first year I retired, I'm not, I've told it to one of my friends last week. After a few months, I thought I wanted to make a comeback, because I was missing it, and as much as I had fun that winter and did all the stuff that I couldn't do before, at some point you go back and it's like, shit, now I'm fresh, I'm ready to go again. And then, whatever, I didn't go that route, and luckily I didn't, because whatever, my time was done. But it is so crucial. And I think, you see it in all sports, like I hear football players that say, like, this probably extended my career for 2-3 years, because you recover from injuries, mentally you get a break, you catch up with everybody, and you kind of ready to go. So I think hopefully we'll have a season this year, and even a short season. But I think that if the season's going to go and everybody's going to be at the start line, it's going to be quite the season.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be exciting to watch, because everybody's going to be guns blazing, and I feel sorry for you guys, because it's going to be all over the place.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate it. We spent a lot of time together, and obviously it was everything I expected with you. It's been great to catch up. I wish you all the best for the end of the season. Thank you for what you've done for the program, and you still represent the program so well, and you're a great ambassador for cycling in general. And give some tips to James when you see him on the road.
That's right.
Tell him to not overdo it. Just say that I said that.
Well, hey, and thanks to you as well, Axel. Really good to catch up. Obviously, we don't catch up much now, but I still look back fondly on that 2009 season with you and all the boys over there. So was more than happy to catch up with you again today. And likewise to you guys. Hope that you guys can get a season and the team's going to be all good and all that stuff.
Sounds good.
I have one last question. Sam, if you were on a show like the Iron Chef show, between your paella, your ramen, or your Hawaiian salad, what are you going with to give you the best shot of winning?
Well, I'd flick the ramen. I'd get rid of that. That was a bit of a flop. But the paella was good. I really enjoyed that. But I forgot about that Hawaiian salad, actually.
Yeah, that Hawaiian salad.
Yeah, I might have that for dinner tonight. I'm feeling that, so we'll go with that one.
All right.
We'll
there you have it.
Perfect.
Thanks, Sam. Take care.
Cool,
man.
guys.
Thanks a lot.
Good to catch up. Thanks heaps.
Bye. See ya.
See ya.